What Kim Mulkey said about Brittney Griner, or really just the lack thereof, is inexcusable. This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You know, if you're surprised by this short, random episode, I am too. I'll be honest. I was really starting to get into the idea that Kim Mulkey's gone. She's at LSU. This has nothing to do with Baylor outside of it associating with Brittney Griner. And why should we cover it? Why should we talk about it? Even after Nicki Collen spoke on it, I just didn't know what kind of newsworthy value this took to add it into the show. But it has eaten away at me for the last 48 hours. How sickening, and maybe you don't think that sickening is the right word. That's okay for you, but it is for me. How sickening it is to watch that clip of a reporter asking Kim Mulkey to comment on the Brittney Griner situation, saying that her incarceration, that Kim Mulkey had not spoken on it, and Mulkey, not really in a snark way, I don't want to say it was snarky, but in an emotionless response says, and you won't. Think about anybody you have spent 4 years around in your life, whether you were their coach, whether they were your coach, whether they were somebody that worked in your office, or even you didn't like them, they got on your nerves, they were your adversary. If you spend 4 years with someone, there is a certain level of love. 10 minutes with someone, love, humanity, and generally being a good person that makes you think, wow, I resonate with anyone who's sitting in a prison in Russia for 10 years for traces of anything on them. I'm not even asking Kim Mulkey or you or anybody to justify a crime here. If you think Brittney Griner committed a crime and should pay time in jail, I am not going to sit here and fight or have an argument over that. But humanity, general love and human kindness teaches you to still support the person, not the action. That's fine if you want to be in that school of thought and don't want to get into those weeds. But this is a human being. What eats away at me most, I've talked to Bryce Cherry and John Werner and Jerry Hill over the last few years, completely unrelated to this, about Brittney Griner, just asking them, just a legendary athlete, what was she like? And each one of them has said the same thing. She brought such a life to the locker room, to the podium. Every time they talked to her, she was just this big kid that loved everybody, that was the happy, big smile that entered every room, and just a good person. Now, can you imagine having a platform of hundreds of thousands of people, little girls that want to play basketball for you, being able to speak for a program that's one of the top athletic programs in the nation and speak for your sport as a leader and saying nothing about a person that led you to a 40-0 national championship season, and more so than what Brittney Griner did on the court, how she was off the court, and even if she didn't play for Kim Mulkey and was just a Baylor student, she is a person. And you can't say one thing about that human being sitting in a jail cell right now in Russia for 10 years. You don't have it within your fiber to say that you support them or you're praying for them or you love them. Nothing. I don't care how severed ties may be, if they even are. You can't give some semblance, some love, some empathy when given the opportunity. And on the flip side, the coach who has never once coached Brittney Griner, Nicki Collen, who's at Baylor, goes on an emotional 5-minute speech in a press conference about how much Brittney Griner means to her, to the game, to Baylor University. She's a Baylor Bear. Every one of you listening that are alumni of Baylor University, she has a degree from the same college that you went to. You're both alumni of the same place. You're both Baylor Bears. She is the we of us. She lived, breathed Baylor, just like you did. This human being who's in a Russian prison right now, and someone who spent 21 years here, couldn't give a damn enough to say one word when specifically given the opportunity, And then a lady who was coaching in the WNBA who got here a year ago can go on an emotional 5-minute talk about how much she values Brittney Griner as a person and as a player. That tells me everything that I need to know about two people. One, Kim Mulkey, and the other, Nicki Collen. Nicki Collen is a saint in comparison to a lot of people, but she proved a lot in the clip that I'm going to show. I'm going to play that clip in full because it hit me, it rocked me to hear that out of someone who did not coach Brittney Griner for 4 years, who did not sit in Brittney Griner's living room and recruit her to university to be led to a 40-0 national championship season, the greatest athlete in Baylor history, and a 21-year veteran coach can't say a word. That says a lot. That says a lot about a human being. That says a lot about a person, not just a basketball coach, not just a public figure. That tells you a lot. So those that are out there coming to her beck and call, her support, her aid, number one, she's not a Baylor anymore. You owe her nothing. You owe Kim Mulkey nothing. I don't get how you could sit there while a Baylor alum, a human being, again, regardless of what they've done or what you believe about what they did, how you could defend someone who has no words of love, support, prayer. The opportunity to speak up for a person was given. And I just want to say this too, for those that are from Baylor, who went to Baylor, have the religious aspect, and that's something you value in life. I value faith. My faith tells me that at every opportunity, I'm going to show love, empathy, and do what is Christ-like. And it is sickening to think about Brittney Griner in a prison cell right now. At 21 years at Baylor University, 4 years as her head coach, you have nothing to say. I can't. You know what I can? I can get behind Nicki Collen. Listen to this. I'm going to play all 5 minutes. I'm not going to have an outro. I'm telling you, I warred so much with whether or not to speak on this, but some people that have come to Kim Mulkey's aid have, number one, driven me insane. Number two, this has not left my mind. It has not left my mind, because how simple would it be to say you're praying for someone, that you care about someone, to show any semblance of empathy, any semblance of love, the minimum, to show the minimum, and then to have nothing to say. Nothing to say. Kim Mulkey knows Brittney Griner's family. Kim Mulkey sold Baylor University, sold herself to Brittney Griner and her family. And 10 years later, she can't, not one nice thing to a kid. Beyond me. Listen to this. This is what leadership is like. This is what love, empathy, and being Christ-like is like.
But how much does her situation kind of weigh on you guys?
Wow. You guys know, those who have been around me know I get pretty emotional. I think BG, first of all, is human first, and I think this is a human rights issue. No one's saying she didn't make a mistake. None of us are perfect, but I guess I would want to know if I did something and was stuck in a foreign country, and what it was, what it wasn't. I think we all know that 10 years is a long time. And, I see her as a mother, as a sister, as a spouse, as a daughter, as an unbelievable ambassador for the game of basketball. I think there are people that have said, like, she kneeled. We can argue about kneeling or not kneeling all day long. Brittney Griner's worn that USA across her chest and won gold medals for this company, or for this country. She's represented Baylor. I know, I want to say it was Bella told me, like, she was one of her first idols, like a big part of like why, she was Baylor, and I absolutely know that there was a championship here before BG, but I mean, she made Baylor a household name, and You know, I didn't coach her, but I coached against her a lot. I game planned for her. And when you spend a summer in the bubble at IMG, you get to know everybody. And she was one of the first people to reach out to me when I got this job. And she was super excited about me getting the job, about coming, us getting her back here. The goal is to get her jersey retired and hanging in the rafters. And so I just think about what it would be like to be away from my family for over 200 days. So that's to me first and foremost. Like, I think this is a humanitarian thing. We can argue if we want about whether what she did is grounds for a trade for an arms dealer. Like, I'm not, I think there's a lot of arguments in play. I think what isn't in play, in my mind, is that we shouldn't be doing everything in our power to get Brittney home.
Would y'all honor her in any way this year, or is there any plans in place to kind of put something?
I think we're talking about it. We were already talking about it last year. We've talked about doing it as a part of, the new arena. And do we just, basically, it's been a big deal to do it right by her. I've been in contact with her agent since I got the job, and know Kagawa Colas well. And so, yeah, I think BG's family. Like, she's Baylor family. So to me, anything we can do to help her and her family is important.
You mentioned kind of like there's no argument with the kind of person that she is, despite, if she did something wrong. Obviously, I'm sure you saw Kim decline the comment today, and you don't have to speak on that, but
Thank you. I was going to say.
But does that bother you? Like, not her remarks, but just when people kind of question her character over this?
Yes.
Her legacy?
Yeah, it does. I think it's easy to question people you don't know, and you don't know their situation, and we can't pretend to know if what was said in the court system was real or just part of the court system. Like, it's no different than people are told by lawyers over here to plead guilty because of certain things in the United States in the court system. So it's not my job to judge, quite frankly. I don't see it as my job. I think as a Christian, it's to give grace. It's to love one another. And, knowing BG, like knowing her, being around her, she's a big kid. To know her is to love her. Honestly, like she just is one of those people that radiates joy, that would give you a high five or a hug. So yeah, I think this is about her being, if it was, I think it's so easy to say when it's someone you don't know. But would everyone be saying the same thing if it was their sister? I think they might feel differently. And that's not me saying that what she did was or wasn't wrong. Like, it's also not my job to comment on that, quite frankly.